I gotta say, I'm really loving what they're doing with the series. It just keeps getting better and better.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Will, and I'm back with my spoiler-filled review for episode 3 of The Falcon and Winter Soldier. This is a spoiler review, as always, with these episodes, so please, before you watch this, go check out the episode first and then come back and check out my thoughts on it. And share your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, thank you so much for watching this and all of my videos. I really do appreciate it. If you do like this video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Also, leave a comment, share it around with your friends, all that fun jazz. And I gotta say, with The Falcon and Winter Soldier, I am very happy with what the series has been doing so far. It's a lot different than what we got with WandaVision. It's very much akin to a la the Winter Soldier movie, and I really like that movie a lot. I like the espionage and political themes in that movie, and a lot of that and more have been brought up with The Falcon and Winter Soldier, especially with the very complex legacy of Captain America and what that symbol actually means. Another thing that the series has done so well is really flesh out more of these characters that we've been exposed to in previous movies, and especially with the two newest ones that have made their return in this episode. I'm talking about Baron Zemo, played by Daniel Bruhl, and Sharon Carter, aka Agent 13, played by Emily Van Camp. They both reprised their roles in this episode. As we got teased at the end of episode 2, Sam and Bucky were going to go talk to Zemo to try to get a lead on what the Flag Smashers are actually up to, as well as our first real taste of who the main villain of this series is supposed to be. That is the Power Broker, who is the one who has somehow recreated the Super Soldier Serum and has supplied it, so to speak, to the Flag Smashers. We get a little bit more clarification on that later in the episode. We do get a little bit more of John Walker. He is going around still doing the government's bidding, and you can start to kind of see the frustration on his face that he is not being held as high of a regard as Steve Rogers was in the eyes of people around the world. A little sidebar too, the actor who portrays John Walker, Wyatt Russell, he's the son of Kurt Russell, has been getting like a lot of really negative stuff from the fandom for him portraying the role of John Walker. He's an actor. Respect that, people. They're sending him the death threat for portraying a role. That's not cool. So don't do that, okay? I just wanted to point that out. I mean, you can hate the character all you want. Like I said in the first episode, I kind of hate the character, but I don't hate the actor. The actor is just doing his job. So I just wanted to say, like, that's ridiculous. Don't do that to anybody. It's kind of BS. So just stop. People, we're better than that. Let's be better. Let's be better fans, okay? But that's really the only taste of John Walker we get in this episode. The rest of the episode really focuses on Baron Zemo and Sharon Carter's reemergence, as well as this unlikely pairing of Zemo, Bucky, and Sam trying to track down the Flag Smashers. See, Zemo is a very interesting character, and I love how they flesh out him more in this episode. We get more of his comic roots. He's very rich. He is not just a soldier, he's smart, and Sam and Bucky are surprised that it's like, you're rich? You were rich this whole time? He's like, yeah. and Daniel Bruhl plays the role really well. I like that we get his comic-inspired mask for the first time in this episode, and he looks really dope doing it. His character, he's just kind of glad to be out of prison. See, what ends up happening is that Sam and Bucky go to prison to interrogate him, and Sam very nervous about Bucky going to him one-on-one due to their history, especially since Zemo is responsible, quote-unquote, for the Avengers breaking up. He's the only villain to kind of do it besides Thanos. Bucky is very driven to try to stop the Flag Smashers at this point, and he's willing to cross some lines that I don't think he is ready to cross, but he does in this episode. He helps Zemo escape without Sam's knowledge, and Sam just kind of has to go along with it to a degree. Sam's very apprehensive about their partnership with Zemo, especially with their history. Bucky does plead with Sam to trust him on this one. He stuck his neck out with Steve when they were trying to protect Bucky during Civil War. He's asking him to do it one more time, and Sam relents. to that. Their plane ride has some very interesting dialogue and conversation, especially with Zemo kind of agreeing with Sam on the Trouble Man soundtrack, since Bucky has the book that Steve had when Steve first came out of the ice. Sam gave him a suggestion for Trouble Man soundtrack from Marvin Gaye, which is a really great soundtrack. And the shock on Sam's face when Zemo agrees and says it's a masterpiece, and it's priceless. It's a priceless little character interaction. He is a villain. He does. He even apologizes to Bucky when they're at his cell. He says it was nothing personal. It was kind of a means to an end. Zemo doesn't necessarily hate Sam and Bucky. He hates the concept of symbols and superpowered beings. That's what he hates. And he's willing to do what it takes to achieve that goal. And that goal that he felt like he achieved is now being undone. So that's why he's working with Sam and Bucky kind of to stop these new super soldiers from becoming a thing. Their travels do take them to the fictional country of Madripoor. I think I said that right. It's a country in Indonesia. It's kind of a lawless country. And that's where we encounter Sharon Carter, who's been undercover since, I believe she was snapped and brought back with the blip. Yeah, she was. They did confirm it, I forgot. But she's also had to do a lot of unscrupulous things because she, unfortunately, has still been on the run since Civil War after she stole Sam and Cap's equipment when they broke out from the facility in Germany. It's not really a happy reunion. Sam really feels bad about what Sharon has had to go through and what she's had to do to survive. They have to work together now to try to figure out who developed the super soldier serum, who perfected it, and that's what the Flag Smashers are doing. So they end up discovering that it is a Dr. Nagel. So Dr. Nagel was originally hired by the CIA, it seems, to reverse engineer the super soldier serum using Isaiah Bradley's blood that they took from him while he was in prison. It doesn't sit too well with Sam and Zemo, for that matter, when they discover he made 20 vials and he doesn't have any more at the facility. So the 20 vials were actually stolen by the Flag Smashers from the power broker who Nagel was working for. Zemo very quickly kills Nagel, which should hopefully stop any future creation of the super soldier serum. We're not sure exactly who else knows about the formula, who else knows about the information. Sharon ends up breaking off from the rest of the group and hoping that Sam lives up to his arrangement to try to help get her extradited and her criminal record expunged. But it seems like she's working for someone else because she did meet up with a contact and get into a car after the firefight. On the plane ride back from Madripoor, there is a very interesting realization from Sam. Sam does come to terms with the fact that he shouldn't have necessarily given up his shield. In fact, he feels like he should have destroyed it. See, his logic at this point is that this shield has caused so much pain, whereas for Bucky, he's seen it more as being responsible for so many lives being saved and really living up to Steve's legacy. The whole concept that this series is presented in my mind is that it's not about there's two different legacies at stake here. The legacy of the Shield is very complicated, but the legacy of Steve Rogers is much different. And I think Sam and Bucky are both viewing it from those different points of view. Sam sees the Shield as being the cause of a lot of pain for a lot of people. Isaiah Bradley, he was experimented on, and him and over 300 other African Americans were experimented on, and he was the only sole survivor who became a super soldier but didn't get the recognition of being Captain America at that point, and was actually experimented on. His blood was stolen and has been revealed to be the result of these new super soldiers being created. It's also caused a lot of pain for Sharon Carter. She can't go home because she helped Sam and Steve steal the Shield and their equipment during Civil War, and now she has to do things that she never really necessarily needed to do. Where in terms with Bucky, he sees the Shield as Steve's legacy of all the good he's done. And I think that's one of the things that I love about this series, exploring and the concept of why John Walker is not Captain America. If you remember back from the first Captain America movie, which if you haven't seen it in a while, go watch it. It's still one of my top 10 favorite movies of the MCU. It's simple. It's got a lot of heart. It reminds me a lot of like the Richard Donner Superman. But there's a line from Dr. Erskine when he's talking to Steve before the procedure.
Because the strong men who has known power all his life may lose respect for that power. But a weak man knows the value of strength and knows compassion.
Oh, you must promise me one thing. That you will stay who you are.
Not a perfect soldier, but a good man.
It's a really good line, and it boils down to Erskine saying to Steve, don't be a good super soldier, just be a good man. In Avengers Endgame, the last thing Steve says to Sam before he jumps back in time is he tells Sam he's a good man. To me, that's why Steve chose Sam, because he's a good man. It's the same reason Erskine chose Steve. By the end of the series, I feel like Sam is going to recognize that and realize that picking up the mantle of Captain America is not being a superhero for America. It's being a good man. And that's something that separates Steve Rogers from John Walker. And I think that's going to be explored even more once we get towards the end of the series, is why John Walker is not a good fit, because he's a great soldier, but he's not necessarily a good man. But Sam is. Sam's a good man. And I think that's what it's going to boil down to. He has to get to the point where the shield is not the symbol. It's the person has to be the symbol. And that's something that contradicts what Zemo says, because Zemo, in his mind, the symbols are what's bad, because the symbols are what give us Hitler or the Red Skull, and how many people follow those symbols. So there's this duality of they're both right, but Sam has to be the one to come to a conclusion on his own. So the episode does come to an end when Bucky kind of breaks off from Sam and from Zemo to take a walk, so to speak. And he finds some beads on the ground, which at first I was like, is that just a rock? I was like, no, that's a kimono bead. Ooh, I know what that is. And he turns around into an alley, and the camera does this really cool pan shot. As we rotate back, we get the return. I believe her name was Io. She was one of the Dora Milaje from Black Panther, and she's been in most of the movies. She was the valet for T'Challa in Civil War, but she is there for Zemo. Obviously, no love lost for the fact that Zemo was responsible for King T'Chaka's death in Civil War. So there's definitely going to be some interesting confrontations with that, hopefully in the next episode. I'm really happy with how this episode panned out. We got our first real taste of the threat that the Power Broker serves. We know now that he is the one responsible for the development of the new version of the Super Soldier Serum. He's also the one who's going after the Flag Smashers, because the Flag Smashers were the ones who stole the serum. Carly, who is their leader, she is starting to turn more down a dark path as well. She has been the freedom fighter. She's the girl with the curly hair. She sets off a car bomb that kills a bunch of hostages that they had inside, and her partner doesn't seem too happy about that. So it's interesting to see how they're still keeping the Flag Smashers kind of as the antagonist, but really the main villain is definitely the Power Broker. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get a similar thing that we got in the comics, where the Power Broker is the one responsible for John Walker and for Battlestar, it's a weird name, getting their doses of the Super Soldier Serum. Overall, I think episode 3 was great. I love what they're doing with Baron Zemo and Sharon Carter. I love how we're fleshing out their characters even more. It's what I've really hoped with these Disney Plus series, that we're taking these characters in more interesting directions and giving them the screen time and the development that the movies unfortunately couldn't do due to a lack of time. I'm really enjoying the fact that we're getting a little bit more of a tie-in with Wakanda, with Io showing up, coming to some sort of arrangement. And I like how Bucky is really serving as this liaison between the current situation and with Wakanda, since he's spent so much time there. And it's probably one of the most peaceful times in his life, that he even says during one of the therapy sessions in the previous episode. I'm excited for the next. We've got 3 more left, and then that's it. So hopefully this goes out with with our boy Sam making the mantle what it should be and what Steve would have wanted it to be. Keep in mind, Steve was never the government toting red, white, and blue after the first movie. His perspective changed dramatically thanks to Winter Soldier and continuing through all the Avengers movies and Civil War. And that's what made Steve Captain America. That's what made him the good man that Erskine always wanted. And I think Sam will develop into that character. Hopefully we'll get that redemption for Bucky too. And maybe a little bit of a redemption for Zemo to a degree. But I'm not holding out hope for Zemo. I still think he is going to be a very good future antagonist for them after this little team up that they're doing. Those are my thoughts on episode 3. What did you think of the episode? Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on that as well. As always, thank you so much for watching this and all of my videos. I really do appreciate it. You can follow me on all the social media lists at the end of the video. I got a ton of videos on the channel that you're more than welcome to check out. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And as always, until next time, I will catch you later. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you did like this video, why not give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends? You can subscribe to the channel by clicking on my gorgeous little face right over there. You can follow me on all the various social media platforms right below. And last but certainly not least, if you've got a few extra minutes, why not check out one of the lovely videos floating right over here.